Howdy, friends. Welcome to the Run from the Norm podcast, where we celebrate the unique individuals who turn the outdoors into a playground, one run and one adventure at a time. I'm your host, Jake Reynolds, and my guest today makes me feel really slow. Let me put it this way. There are a select few people in the world who have ever ran faster than a 4-minute mile. If you know your running history, you'll remember Roger Bannister finally did it back in 1954 with a time of 3 minutes and 59 seconds. My guest has not only ran faster than that, but he has done it multiple times. How about a career best of 3 minutes and 51.3 seconds to be exact? For the year he did this, 1984, he was not only the fastest miler in America, but he was the 6th fastest in the world. That is insane to me. My guest is none other than Rich Harris. After retiring from professional running, Rich opened Bandanna Running and Walking in downtown Boise with his brother Tracy, where he can still be found helping runners and walkers of all ages and abilities alongside his wife and co-owner Shannon. We recorded this conversation inside the store where we sat among a bunch of really cool memorabilia and talked about his remarkable career alongside a mutual friend of ours and a former guest of the podcast, Sid Sullivan. He was close by just to encourage the fun. Rich is a remarkable person, and I couldn't help but mirror the huge smile he wore for the entire duration of our conversation as he took me on a winding ride through this trajectory of his life and running career that really took him all over the world, including a trip that landed him squarely on the other side of the Iron Curtain. Rich ran with some of the world's greatest middle distance runners and through it all maintained what I think is his superpower, his ability to focus on being 100% in the moment and present of whatever experience he happened to be in at that time. Please join me in a warm welcome for one of the most enjoyable people I've had the pleasure of chatting with, and the person that made me say holy smokes more times than I can count, Richie Harris. It's time to run from the norm. Hey, Richie Harris, thank you so much for taking time to sit down and talk with me. We're sitting here in your store, Bandanna Running and Walking, downtown Boise, and I would just like to start with asking you, what were you like as a kid? Where did you grow up, and were you active? Was running an integral part of your life early on?
No, not even remotely. No, until I was 13, we lived in the Twin Cities suburbs.
Okay.
And played flag football, basketball, baseball, all the sports my dad participated in. My dad coached football.
Okay.
Yeah, just little league stuff. Mm-hmm. So played with my dad, and I had no concept of running whatsoever.
Other than just you're outside and moving your body.
Yeah, yeah. So very active doing those sports, and started skiing probably when I was 10 or 11. I have no idea why. My parents weren't skiers, but one Christmas, there's skis under the Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the craziest thing. And we started going over to Wisconsin and skiing. So my brothers and I and my parents, we all just kind of started learning how to ski. And to this day, I don't know why the skis showed up and they wanted to get into skiing.
Interesting. They just thought it would be fun for the family. Now, you mentioned siblings. You have siblings as well?
I have 5 brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of sibling rivalry in there?
Jake, that's a great question. I don't think so.
Everybody played well?
They did. Everybody had their own thing, and we all played sports, but 6 boys in 8 years.
Oh, my gosh.
So my parents are busy.
Oh, I can imagine.
And my mom's a saint, and she provided unbelievable stability in our household, and everybody was able to just go and do your thing, and you could come home, and there's going to be dinner on the table, and I've realized through life that stability is a big thing.
Absolutely.
To having success just as a person in running your life, and my mom provided that. Oh, both parents provided that, but my mom being homemaker, housewife, I'm not sure I like those terms. But,
it's a very difficult job, and I can imagine with that many boys running around, it was full-time.
Massively.
Yeah. Not enough credit goes to moms.
That's exactly it, yeah.
You're doing all these different activities and sports. You get into skiing. At what point does it start to transition to where you move into a little bit more of the running?
After 7th grade, when I was 13, we moved to the Chicago suburbs. My dad took a job in Chicago. So I did 8th grade, played Catholic League football, and my brother Kevin and I were the starting defensive backs. We were probably 2 of the smallest guys on the team, but we were very good at tackling.
Okay.
So played...
Must have been quick.
We did okay. We did okay, and then played basketball. I'm terrible at ball handling sports. Yeah, not my thing. Eye-hand coordination is not my thing. But at the, we'd have dinner every night, and so we're all 8 of us sitting around the table, and my dad loved to tell stories about growing up in Montevideo, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And my dad, senior year in high school, got 5 varsity letters. So he did football, baseball, basketball, track, and rifle team.
Really?
He did rifle team to get that 5th varsity letter.
Interesting.
He was a big-time athlete.
Okay.
In rural Minnesota.
If he did rifle sports, was he a hunter as well? Did you know?
Nothing to do with guns.
Okay.
He just did it to get the letter.
Interesting.
But my dad's favorite thing was talking about the pole vault.
Okay.
And so when he started, you had bamboo poles, and then they transitioned to Swedish steel. But my dad loved to talk about his pole vaulting, and he would mention, I think he's Swedish, a guy named Cornelius Warmerdam.
Okay.
And I, sitting at the kitchen table, listening to him talk about all this, and I thought, when I get in high school, I'm going to be a pole vaulter.
Huh.
That is my introduction to track and field and running. I was going to be a pole vaulter, like my dad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so then you're moving up through junior high and into high school. Did you move into pole vaulting?
Well, so freshman year, track season starts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with the pole vaulters.
Okay.
And of course, you see what pole vault is like. So I get that pole and pick it up and run down the runway, and you plant it and you go.
And it was magic right from the first attempt?
I lasted 2 days.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was not cut out to be the pole vaulter.
I'm sure not for lack of effort.
Well, that wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I'm going to be a sprinter and a hurdler after that.
Okay.
And that lasted a few days.
Really?
Well, I was very, very small.
Okay.
I probably did not break 100 pounds when I was a freshman in high school.
Was it a big team that you were on as well?
I wouldn't say big. You know, it was a high school the size of Boise High, probably. But, you know, getting in the blocks and going over the hurdles.
All the things.
Again, just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a coach pulls me aside and says, why don't you go with Mr. Olafs and the distance runners? That's how I became a distance runner. Going with Mr. Olafs and a distance runner, that means we lived on Lake Michigan. If you ran from the high school to the beach, it was 1.5 miles, round trip 3 miles. I couldn't even conceive of running 3 miles. And we had to do it Indian file.
Oh, geez.
So,
okay.
Brutal. To this day, I could not tell you why I stuck with it. But for whatever reason, that worked for me. And I think so much of it was the people I was with. In particular, there's a young man, same age as me, Ken Caldwell, and he is completely the reason I stuck with running, just my friendship with him.
Really? What was it about that friendship?
I think we're just very similar personalities. Mm-hmm. And I'm just one of those people that, you know, you train enough, and Sid just mentioned it about somebody else. You know, the training gets going and suddenly you kind of blossom. Mm-hmm. And I did not break 6 minutes in the mile as a freshman. I think I ran 6:13 was my best. And then start a sophomore year, I'm going out for the football team again because I was on the football team as a freshman.
That's what you do.
Exactly. I didn't know anything about cross country. I didn't know the sport existed. You know, I'm probably barely broken 100 pounds now. But anyway, I start to play football as a sophomore. I have no business being here. And it's see the cross country guys running around campus. I remember going home and talking to my parents and telling them,
football's just not my thing.
Football's not my thing. And I don't recall saying anything about cross country, but Ken Caldwell, he's my friend, and Ken's out there running cross country. So I joined the cross country team. And
so that's what it was. You saw your friend out there running and you're not having fun at football. You think, I'll go give this a try.
That's about it. Yeah.
When did it start to shift for you where you started to realize I'm actually pretty good at this?
Well, okay, there's a very specific moment with that. When I started high school, our town was growing. They built a separate high school for the freshmen and sophomores. It was probably 6-7 miles away from the original high school in the middle of our town. Okay. We called it West Campus and East Campus. So West Campus had a lot of fields around it, and we had our cross-country course out there. And one day I'm running just with sophomores. Mm-hmm. And shoot the gun, go do the race, and it was like it all came together. I don't think my feet ever touched the ground in that race. And it was unbelievable how easy and smooth it was. And I won the race by quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
But also, I ran faster than all the varsity guys had on the course, except for Ken. Ah. And so
suddenly you're on the radar.
I was on the radar, and that was the last race I ran as a sophomore. So now I'm on varsity.
Okay.
And so that was...
What was it about that race? Was there something leading up to it, or everything just happened to fall in place when the gun went off?
I guess so. It's one of those things where where you've trained enough. Now it's not a struggle anymore, and you're just working to get in shape. So I just finally got in shape enough.
And it all just fell into place.
Yeah, and I don't think anything ever indicated that in practice, but it all fell into
stars
place.
aligned.
The stars aligned, right.
So what happened after that? You run this race and everybody's suddenly paying attention.
Well, then I moved to varsity, and we're only sophomores, but Ken was our number one guy. So he's better than all the juniors and seniors. And I don't think it was sophomore year, but junior year, things really blossomed for me. So now I'm number 2 on the team.
Are you training differently at this point?
No, I am just doing what the coach says.
Okay.
And that's been my whole career.
Okay.
I just do what the coach says.
Sure.
I don't overanalyze.
Let them be
things.
good at what they're good at, and then you
Right.
go out and do what you're good at.
Right. And I don't think I ran over the summer, but things worked out pretty well. And now I'm number 2 on the team and went that way into our senior year. And I always finished second behind Ken on our team. And our team was never really a real strong team, but a lot of team was very close. And at our high school, there's a giant field right out in front of the high school. Ordinary People was filmed at our high school.
Oh, wow.
There's a big giant lawn right in front of the high school. And before practice, we would play Nerf football. All the guys on the team, you're just running back and forth across the field.
Seeing how far you can throw that thing.
Yeah. And it was so much fun and just the camaraderie with the team.
Do you think that's what started to draw you in even more? Is that camaraderie and sense of community with your friends?
No question. And one of the guys on the team who was a year younger than me just lived down the street from me. He and I became very close friends. And it was just that. That was my friendship. So I had that group, but then skiing was really my thing.
Okay, so you're still
More
skiing
so
quite a
than
bit
running.
okay.
Well, I'm on the National Ski Patrol.
Oh, my goodness.
So me and 2 other guys, starting our sophomore years, we wanted to be on Ski Patrol. The reason you want to be on Ski Patrol is because you get a free season pass, and you get discounts on the food.
Oh, even better.
That was a big part of it. So we did all the training, and we passed, and we were on the Ski Patrol, and we each got assigned a shift. One of them was Friday night, one of them was Saturday day. I was Monday night. So the 3 of us would always carpool up to the ski area, which was on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin, Wilmot Mountain. I did more skiing than running in high school. That was really my thing. And my family would do on spring break. So all 4 years I was in high school, my parents took us to Aspen.
Okay.
And we skied there. And one of the guys that I ski patrolled with, his parents were close friends with my parents. They would go to Aspen. So their son would come with our family for the week, and then I would go with their family. So I got 2 weeks in Aspen during high school.
Any time in Aspen will be amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's interesting. And it all started because your parents put some skis under the tree?
Yes.
And did everybody stay involved with it at that point, or is it mostly just you're really taking a liking to it?
It really blossomed for me.
Okay.
I think one of my brothers got into it quite a bit. One of my brothers married a woman who's on the U.S. ski team.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
They went to CU together. But that was my thing, and then that's why I ended up in Colorado, was very specifically, I wanted to go to college in Colorado so I could ski.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about that. So you went to Colorado State?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad and I went out there Christmas vacation my senior year in high school.
And you went out more because you were focused on the skiing?
Yes.
Interesting, okay.
And so I ran 4:23 for the mile my junior year.
Holy smokes.
And that was not bad.
Oh, that's flying. Well, maybe in your respects and what we'll get to and what you've done,
Yeah.
I mean, that might not seem...
In northern
that's
Illinois,
fast.
that was pretty good.
Okay.
So we go to Colorado State. We went to Colorado State and University of Colorado to do a little tour. We met with both coaches. But again, they're looking at me as, you're some kid from Illinois, 423, not a big deal. But both coaches were really, really gracious. But my whole thing was go to Colorado so I can ski.
Interesting.
And funny side note, my parents, I grew up Catholic. My parents loved Notre Dame. So of course, my dad and I go to Notre Dame, tour the campus, meet with the coach. And I will never forget this. The coach asks me, how much do you run? And in the off season, so now we're in the winter between cross country and track. And my coach's thing was, we're going to run 100-mile-a-month club. 3 miles a day. And his thing was just run, for goodness sakes.
Mm-hmm. He's thinking that you're running close to this already? Or is this is just what he wants this to be your goal?
This is what the high school coach wanted us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
His only thing, just so you go run.
Just run.
And it's simple. It's 3 miles a day. Okay, so I tell the coach at Notre Dame, I'm proud. We run 100-mile-a-month club. Well, here at Notre Dame, he says to me, we run 100 miles a week.
Just blows your mind.
Totally. I can't even conceive.
Oh, my goodness.
100 miles a week. I probably never ran more than 25 miles a week in high school.
But did you keep a straight face when he told you that?
I couldn't tell you, but that was shocking to me. And I had no concept of mileage or anything. I just did what the coach said. And I never kept a log. I never wrote anything down.
Interesting. I was going to ask you about that.
Anything.
Okay.
No, I didn't do any of that.
Did your workouts as they were prescribed and put in your effort?
That's it.
Okay.
Whatever the coach said, I did.
Interesting.
And first coach, his name was Dick Olafs. He understood runners. He
must have seen some natural talent in you if you're doing the workouts, but you're doing what's prescribed and you're having the results you are.
I think he did. But he was not one of those driven coaches. He's not telling you all these phrases, all that stuff. None of that. I wouldn't have responded well to that. That's just not my thing. But I just listened to him, did what he said, and things worked out pretty well.
Interesting. So you're getting through high school then, and you're starting to look at the colleges. You decide to go to Colorado State.
Yes. And again, this had nothing to do with running.
That's right. You're going for skiing.
Well, the end of my junior year, I qualified for the state meet at 4:23. I go to state. I don't make the finals. Senior year, districts, I qualify for state. Again, I run 4:23. So that's my best high school time at the district meet. And now I'm going to go to state. And Illinois is a pretty strong distance running state. And there were a number of guys who'd run under 4:20. And to me, that was like unbelievable. I mean, you're top of the world.
Are you still pushing for that, or are you pretty happy with where you're at?
I don't even think about it.
You're just doing the thing.
I just do my thing. Here's the race today. Get on the line and go and race.
Interesting.
So I qualify for state, and I am aware of a few guys that are running in the 4-teens. In my heat, I end up running 4:16 to win my heat. So now I've got a 7-second PR.
Holy smokes.
The final the next day, I get third place and run 4:11.
Wow.
So I go in 1 week. I'm one of the better runners in northern Illinois. Now I'm the 11th fastest high school miler in the whole United States.
Holy smokes.
And I just can't even conceive of that because I just ran the race.
You're just going out to run.
I just went out to run.
Which might end up being your superpower, is that you're in the moment and you're doing the thing and you're not too focused around the rest of the noise.
Don't overthink it. Okay. I do remember the coach telling me there was one particular guy. He said, you stick with that guy because I think he's the guy. I stuck with him. He ended up winning. We all ran the same time, 4:11. It was just tenths of a second. But I don't remember any quarter splits or anything like that.
Just head down and
I'm just running the race. Just stick with this guy.
Wow.
And again, I just did what the coach said. Worked out okay.
Yeah, apparently so.
So now I'm going to go I've already committed to Colorado State, but I commit from a running point of view as a 4:23 high school miler. You know, that's good, but I'm not setting the world on fire. I get to school, and the coach, I think, had communicated with us, my family, my parents, to come out a week early. So the team's going to train. And I'm sleeping on the couch of another guy on the team because you can't get in the dorms yet. And the whole idea was run a 100-mile week. And that's going to set up a base for the rest of the season.
You said you aren't really tracking what you're doing, but if you were to guess, what do you think your max mileage in a week was up to this point?
Never more than 25 miles.
Really?
Never.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
I think 3 times in high school, the coach would tell us to run. There's a golf course right by my house, just at the end of the street, and run to that golf course and back. And it was an 8-mile loop. I can remember 3 times doing that. And that would have been the longest run I ever did. 3 times, ran 8 miles. But otherwise, 3 to 5 miles would have been the runs. And I just did what the coach said.
So that's where you're at. They're asking you now to participate in 100-mile weeks.
Yeah, and I just do what I'm told. You know, I couldn't finish. We'd get in the van and drive up Poudre Canyon, and then you got to run down Poudre Canyon many, many, many miles. I don't think I ever made it. I'd get in the van part way, and then you get in the van, drive back to campus. Now you got to run 10 by 100.
Oh, my goodness. It's just a completely different training protocol at this point.
Oh, my gosh. It was.
How's your body responding?
Not well. Yeah, I'm pooped. And then, of course, cross-country meets, it's 10,000 meters. You know, I've run 3 miles. I don't know if I ever completed a cross-country race my freshman year. I can very specifically remember dropping out of 2 cross-country races. I'm just too tired to run that far.
Your body's just not adapted to the workload yet.
Right. And plus now you're in college. There's a whole different thing, living in the dorm, the classes.
Were there any of your other friends there with you, or you went on your own?
Oh, I was totally on my own.
Okay.
I had a roommate from Long Island. You know, he wasn't a runner or anything, but there was a big freshman class class of runners when I started, and they were all pretty darn good. A lot of them came from Colorado or Wyoming. So that was good. You know, have that camaraderie. And a guy lived across the hall from me. He lived with his brother. And his brother was a year older, but we were the same age, and we kind of hit it off. The reason we are sitting in this store is because of that guy.
Really? Why is that?
He, after college, started a store in Colorado called the Runner's Roost.
Okay.
He built it into 8 stores. And at some point after, I'd been here in Boise 2 years, I think, and he and I are talking one day, and he says, why don't you start a running store in Boise? There's no stores. And I believe there was a store selling running shoes. I don't remember at this point.
But not really a very specific running specialty retailer.
I don't think so. But he told me that, and he helped me get the whole thing going.
Okay, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. Did you have a business background, or was this just something because of the running tie-in you thought, hey, you know?
Jake, I was a zoology major.
Were you really?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't know a credit from a debit.
Wow.
I didn't know anything. And my brother Tracy worked up the street at Sunset Sports.
Okay.
And Tracy worked in the shoe department. So Tracy and I started talking, and as it happened, there's a gentleman in town who had twin boys who were pretty good runners, and Tracy at some point left Sunset and started working for this guy. He had started a business called Extended Systems out by HP, and Tracy's working there, and this guy's boys are running for Centennial, and they're pretty good, and he likes running. I don't know the specifics, but I think Tracy mentioned to him, we're thinking about doing a running store, and he says, well, come out and talk to me. And I can remember pulling into the parking lot of Extended Systems. He's out in the parking lot picking up trash.
Really?
And that just stuck with me. So you founded this company, and you're in the parking lot when I pull up picking up trash.
He's not asking anyone to do anything he wouldn't do himself.
I guess. You know, I didn't quite understand it, but it just left an impression. I sit down with him, and I knew nothing. I don't know anything about business. I don't know anything about money. And
what is it that gets you past that fear then? Because I can imagine it's got to be an absolutely scary thing to be looking at committing yourself to such a big responsibility.
But I never thought that way. It just never even occurred to me. So he put together a business plan, and it took me a long time to write a business plan. Because again, I don't know anything. I don't know one thing. I don't know how to write a business plan or what it means, but...
Don't have to do business plans in zoology.
No, not at all. Procyon lotor, that's what I know.
Oh, my goodness.
I can know the Latin names of a whole lot of mammals, but I didn't know anything. But I get the business plan together, and I can remember sitting down with him, and he's asking me questions, and he's kind of trying to draw it out of me to understand what all this is, and it's so evident that I have no idea.
But the passion's there, though.
I wouldn't even say the passion. It's just, okay, I'll do this.
I said earlier, passion. I really think your superpower is you are in the moment, and if it feels right, you're going with it.
That's about it.
Law of attraction. You're putting positive out, and you're getting positive back.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
It's working, and so we talk, and he pulls out his checkbook, and he writes me this big, giant check.
Holy smokes.
And he says, this may not be the smartest investment I ever make.
Well, in hindsight,
30 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
A lot has happened along the way, and there's a lot of people whose names nobody will ever know that are responsible for this business still staying here. But that was our initial start, and we would get together once a week, and I'd show him the books, and he made me do everything by hand on paper.
So you probably have no experience doing books for a business either?
Of course not.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. But he made me do it all on paper on a ledger.
So it's forcing you to learn.
100%. And he would ask me, all these questions about the numbers and this, that, and the other thing. Then after a year, his wife was a CPA. She came in, kind of took over, got us set up on QuickBooks.
Okay.
She put all that together, and then I just would sit down with her. And
but how smart of him, though, to force you to make sure that you fully understand the business before you bring in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I would imagine that was probably a huge component of the success of it, is you went into it and you were forced to learn all those aspects.
No question. No question. So, just slowly learned everything, and it's having people that believe in you and they just want to help you along. And that's what they did. And my brother Tracy and I were the two that kind of ran the show, but he left after 2 years because he started teaching and coaching at Meridian High School, and he just didn't have the time to come down and work.
Okay.
just kind of went from there, hiring some staff over
A day at a time.
It's just a day at a time.
All the years that I've come in here too, I see a lot of familiar faces that have ran at Boise State, other people from around the community. So you're obviously very, very involved in the youth activities, youth sports. When did you really start taking the shift from just having the business to being more involved in that side of it?
Gosh, we got involved with Roby Creek early on, and Shannon and I have become close friends with a couple that are a big part of Roby Creek, and just the friendship that you develop. And just being with Roby Creek was just a lot of fun. You just liked the people that were involved, putting it on. And then my brother being a high school coach, well, of course, we're starting to get involved with that, with his team, with the meets. And there's a guy in town named Tim Severa, who obviously know Tim. Tim and I became good friends and would do a little bit of running together. There's a guy named John Wright, who's now the coach at Ridgeview, and Tim and John and I and
We've
some
got
others.
kids, that's where they go.
Okay. So I just did a little bit of running with them. Not a whole lot, but just, I think it was maybe a Sunday get together. And just, they all become high school coaches. So now I've got a relationship with them and just some of the other coaches. And it just kind of slowly developed.
And with your experience and background, it seems like a pretty natural tie-in then.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was supernatural with my business abilities.
Of the running background.
Yeah, the running background. So it's easy to talk with the coaches and talk with kids that would come in. And obviously you start carrying track spikes, which I don't think we did at the beginning.
Oh, really?
Okay. I can't remember at this point in time. But that just built and built and built. And with Shannon and I, between her kids and my kids, high school track and cross country became just a big focus for us. Because we like it.
The impact on the kids as well.
Yeah. And just love going to the meets and being a part of them. Even if going to the meets, you're setting up a tent and a table and a display. We only sold at a couple of meets, but just being there.
Having the presence and showing that you care.
And just, I love being there.
Yeah.
I went to Timberline last night and watched the meet. I just like standing there and I just like watching the kids.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And the kids interact with each other, yelling for their teammates. Last night at Timberline, it was just Timberline and Meridian. The 4x400 Meridian's throwers had a team.
Really?
And they all wore the black thing where all you can see is their eyes. And they're running and they're throwing their arms up like this as their teammates would yell. I just thought that was
just
great.
Having a good time.
They're just having fun.
There's not enough of that.
So much fun. And the teammates are screaming and yelling. They're excited. That's what I love.
Yeah, you're still excited about it and involved to this day.
It's great.
Yeah.
We're only involved just as going to show support.
That's cool.
We've got 3 big meets here, 3 weekends in a row in April, and we'll be at those. One of them's called the Bandanna Invite.
And actually, I'd like to kind of segue off of that. So the bandana, can you tell me a little bit about the name Bandanna? Obviously, in all these pictures, there's still so much history that I'd like to get into with you and your running, but the bandana is a huge part of...
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Can you tell me about that?
Okay. It goes back to Ken Caldwell that I mentioned.
Okay.
Ken shows up for practice one day, and he's got a bandana just around his neck. Ken will be here in a few weeks to spend the weekend in Boise, and I'll have to ask him. I don't, to this day, know exactly why he suddenly showed up with it. I got to have a bandana, too.
Oh, okay.
So my mom goes up in the attic, finds the Cub Scout bandana.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is what that is. That is a Cub Scout neckerchief.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So what listeners can't see is we're looking around at some of these pictures on the wall of Richie in some of these races, and he's got a bandana on his head. That's interesting. That's a Cub Scout bandana.
It's a Cub Scout neckerchief. That's what it always was. Nothing different except for
so funny.
Here you go.
Oh, my goodness. You still have this. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had a number of them, but this one, so that top picture up there.
Oh, my goodness.
That's one.
That bandana. Holy smokes.
Yeah. So this is the one I wore when I ran my fastest mile. So Shannon and I have been talking about doing some things. That's why it's in my backpack.
I was going to say that's convenient, and serendipitous that you happen to have it right now. That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And so you were wearing that, sorry to cut you off there. So you're wearing that on your fastest mile.
I did, yeah. I wore it every race.
Well, you wore it every race, but specifically on your fastest mile. Can you tell us a little bit about what your fastest mile was, where you were at, how that went for you?
It's 1984. I'm going to back up a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
So Olympic trials. Olympics were in 1984 in L.A. The Olympic trials were at the Coliseum also, and I am considered a dark horse to make the team.
It's crazy for the kid that just was kind of a ski bum and ran here and there.
A ski bum is right. But once I got to college, there was
Everything
no more
changed.
skiing. I never
Okay.
skied. Running just took over in college. And
I can only imagine 100-mile weeks and tired body and needing to rest and recover.
Right.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Well, we go to the trials, and first you have to run 3 times. First round, me and 3 other guys are running all side by side, coming up the home stretch. We've broken away, and we're just cruising to the finish line, and we're all going to qualify for the next round the next day. I couldn't tell you why. I've never done it before or since. I turn around and look, hey, where's everybody else? I kicked myself, and I fell down just 10 yards from the finish line.
Oh, no.
And I smack my head on the track. I get to my hands and knees. All these legs go by.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm out. I'm not one of the top 6. And
absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Yeah. And you leave the stadium, and they funnel everybody through the media tent. So I've got to go talk to the media.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'd never hardly had an interview in my entire life.
And now all eyes are on you.
Everybody wants to talk to me. What happened? On and on and on. And I keep my composure. And I leave the tent, which is in the parking lot. My parents are standing outside the tent, and 1 or 2 of my brothers were there. Oh, my gosh. It's still emotional to this day. I leave the tent. There's my parents. I completely broke down. And so I'm crying, and we're walking through the parking lot. And my dad puts his arm around my shoulder, and he says, Richie, babe, you're just getting started. Okay, that's June of 1984. By the end of the season in 1984, I've run the fastest mile in the United States.
Oh, my goodness.
And number 6 in the world. And I'd had some other things happen in college where you have this setback, but you dwell on it for about 5 minutes and you got to move on.
Again, your superpower.
And it was easy for me to move on.
There are so many people I don't think would have been able to handle it like that.
Everything worked out okay. After that, I went to Canada. A college friend of mine had some races in Canada, ran there, and then had a brother going to school in London. And so I pack up. I'm going to London. Gosh, I don't know. I was there all during the Olympics. So my brother and I would sit we were in this dorm at the Imperial College of Science and Technology, and just sit in the dorm and watch the Olympics. And I just hung out in London for like 3 weeks and,
had an adventure out of it.
That's all it was. It was just an adventure. I didn't dwell on the fall. I didn't dwell on, oh my gosh, I didn't make the Olympic team or any of that.
That's amazing.
I'm running for Nike in their club. I think this is my 4th year.
Okay, I was going to ask what you're doing at this point. If you're running professionally.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's
okay.
what I did right as soon as college ended. Mm-hmm. Nike signed me.
Wow.
One of their early employees, a guy named Jeff Hollister, we have one of his books over there. Out of Nowhere is Jeff's book. Jeff came to my basement apartment in Fort Collins, signed me to Athletics West, and I started running for them after college. I'm going to back up again.
Sure, absolutely.
In 1980, that middle picture is the first heat of the 1980 Olympic trials. So I win that heat. I PR by like a second. And in the final, if the race had been 1,400 meters, I would have been on the Olympic team in 1980.
Really?
But it's 1,500 meters, and I could not hang on, and I ended up 5th. But I PR'd again by like half a second or something. But yeah, I ran well. And Nike says, hey, we want to send you to Europe. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Okay.
And I don't really know what exactly that means. Mm-hmm. But I run these races in Canada, and then I'm waiting. When am I going to go to Europe? I believe it was Jeff Hollister, but I'm not 100% sure, says, we're going to send you to Europe right after the 80 Olympics. Go to the airport. There's a bunch of plane tickets. Fly to London, go to the Queen's Hotel, and talk to Andy Norman. That's my introduction to racing in Europe.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know anything. I just go to the airport, and I get all these plane tickets, and I fly to London.
And how old are you at this point?
So I'm 23.
Oh, my goodness.
And I get to Heathrow. I don't know anything. They drive on the other side of the road. And I go to the information desk, and I say, I'm supposed to go to the Queen's Hotel. And the person says, well, which one? There's 8 Queen's Hotels in London. It's like, oh, my God.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, I'm running at Crystal Palace. And right away they know, okay, yes, we know this is the one you want to go to. So I got to get on a bus. So it tells me to get on this particular bus from Heathrow, take it to Victoria Station, and then you're going to take the train to the Crystal Palace stop. I do all that, and I can remember sitting on the double-decker bus. And, of course, I go to the top.
Got to get the view.
Oh, my gosh. It's just, I am in a different planet here.
Absolutely surreal.
Driving down the road, we're on the wrong side of the road. I'm on the upper deck of a bus.
Are you just looking around thinking, how did I get here?
Yes, yes. It's just so, I don't even know what the word is. It's such an adventure.
Oh, wow.
And I get on the train, go to Crystal Palace, get off. Well, now where do I go? And you can only go one way when you get off at the Crystal Palace stop, and it's up this hill. Okay, it's August. I've got on a corduroy sport coat, a button-down shirt because my dad was very big on dress to impress and, look good. And I've got 2 big duffel bags. Again, I have no concept of travel and packing.
You're just there.
I'm just there. Get a big duffel bag on each shoulder, walk up the hill, got to walk another half-mile down to the hotel, and I get there, get in my room, and I go down, and I say, I'm supposed to meet this guy, talk to this guy, Andy Norman. They get Andy Norman, come down to the lobby. I have no concept who Andy Norman is. Why am I talking to him? And Andy says, well, what races are you doing? I said, I have no idea.
I'm just here.
And I said, I have all these plane tickets.
Oh, my goodness.
He says, show me the tickets. I go to my room, get the tickets. Andy flips through them, and he tears them in half. And he tells me, you don't want to go to those races.
Oh, wow.
He says, I'll take care of you.
And you still don't really know who he is.
I have no idea. And I haven't run a race yet either. He doesn't know who I am.
It's like a sitcom,
Yeah. And so the next day we run the race. And again, I'm not a student of track and field. I don't really know anybody. I just get in the race.
You're just out there to do the thing.
And it's a race, and so you do the best you can, and you'd like to try and win. And the fields, and I learned this later in London, were very big. So it'd be like 22, 23 guys in the mile. The reason there were, Andy Norman was giving you a shot.
Oh.
Okay, it's a big crowded field, but I'm letting you in. Let's see what you can do.
Okay.
What I learned running in college, I'm able to be in the race and do well, but I'm never going to win. I don't have that ability to kick really fast, so I got to be in front as we come to near the end of the race. So I would try, and as we came off the turn to come down to a lap to go, 500 to go, I needed to be...
You got to push.
I needed to be in front, and that's what I would do.
And then just hold on.
Best I can. And so this race in London, I do that. I go and take the lead. And I end up, I finished 7th or 8th, but I run 3:57.
Wow.
PR. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think 12 guys broke 4 minutes. It was the most people that had ever broken 4 minutes in a race.
Really?
And I felt pretty good. I took the lead and got in there.
Absolutely.
But in the race is John Walker, Dave Moorcroft, Steve Cram.
Oh, my gosh.
Some of the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know who these guys are. I'm just doing my thing. Just get to the front.
You're just out there running.
I'm just running.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't want to speak for Andy Norman. He's passed away a long time ago, but I always ran well for Andy. And he was very good to me. And so I was there for another 3 or 4 weeks, and I just went where Andy said.
And you're running with some of the best runners in the world, just out there doing the thing.
After London, he just says the next morning after the race, be down here and get on the bus and go to the airport, fly to Budapest. So I'm going to be in the Budapest Grand Prix. And the only thing I can think of is it's in Hungary. It's behind the Iron Curtain.
Oh, no.
I cannot believe I'm going behind the Iron Curtain.
You're just living a fairy tale at this point. It's crazy.
I'm just doing what I'm told.
Wow.
I didn't know until just a few years ago. Lassie Viren was in the 1500 with me. I had no idea.
That's insane.
And I think Scott looked it up, this site for
That
Lassie
gives me
Viren.
goosebumps.
And it shows all of Lassie Viren's races.
And he was in that race with you.
He was in that race.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know who Lassie Viren is.
You're just running. That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and I'm with Ken Martin, who was running for University of Oregon. He was a steeplechaser, and my bag, so I think we had to go from London to Frankfurt to Budapest. My bag disappears. Again, I don't understand about, hey, you should carry your spikes with you on the plane.
Oh, no.
I don't have anything. So we go to the hotel, and then we go to the track, and I think I'm borrowing stuff from Ken. We go to the track. There's my bag sitting on the track.
Waiting for you. Oh,
Craziest
my
thing.
gosh.
I don't know how that happened. But, I did that, and then we go to Lausanne, Switzerland, and my college teammate teammate, Greg Duhame, another Canadian steeplechaser, is there. And Greg and I were very close. He was kind of my mentor when I got to college. Greg says, hey, I hear Steve Ovette's going to take a shot at the world record and they need a rabbit. Why don't you do it?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't even know what a rabbit is. And I don't know. And Greg's telling me about this. Okay, next thing I know, Greg and I are in Steve Ovette's hotel room.
Oh, my gosh.
We go in. On the floor are Steve's spikes. The left one on the back heel says Steve, and the right one says Ovette. It's defining moment in my running career to see his name on the back of the spikes.
That's crazy.
It was unbelievable. I'm talking with Steve Ovette about doing his rabbiting, and he says, I want to go through the first 800 and 150. Okay, that's my PR
I was
for
ask
800.
what your PR is at that point.
That's totally my PR. Okay, I'll do it. And just again, I'm so
just say yes and go do it.
Okay, so I say yes. I am terrified now. I've just way overcommitted. And it's kind of a rainy day because we go in the morning, talk to him, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if the weather stays bad, they're going to cancel the meet and I'm not going to have to do this.
Oh, jeez. So you don't know how to feel about that?
Oh, my God. Really?
Oh, my gosh.
What the heck am I doing? But, of course, it clears up when we come to the meet. And on the line, the gun goes off, and, man, I go to the front. So it's a 1,500, so you're starting the backstretch. And we come around to hit the first lap. Andy Norman, he's a London cop.
Okay.
And we come around. Andy is standing right at the starting line, and he is waving. He's doing big arm circles, and he's just yelling, keep going. And all these just keep going. Just keep going.
Just hold on.
I'm just holding on and just running as fast as I can go. So I went 900 meters. You know, I hit the 800 and kept going down the backstretch there. And again, it's a stacked field.
Is there huge crowds? People just cheering like crazy?
Yeah, it's probably 12, 15,000 people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So I step off. No world record was set. But it looked good, I guess, for...
Well, talk about a memory. Holy smokes.
Yeah. And then that night, Steve Ovette, you're coming out with me and we're having beers.
Wow.
So he was so gracious. He was so nice. And I went out with him and his training partner. And there's some other people and just had a couple of beers with Steve Ovette.
That's crazy.
I just
Still just looking around trying to pinch yourself.
Yes. You know, the previous May, I'm thinking, how am I going to qualify for NCAAs? And now here I am with...
You're the rabbit for the world record attempt.
And Steve Ovette had just won the gold medal in Moscow and a bronze medal in the 8 and the 1500.
So what do you think put you on the radar so much that they're starting to target you for these opportunities?
Well, it was more my teammate, Greg Duhame. He had experience. He'd run in Europe before, so he kind of knew people. And he's the one that told me
Think you're the guy.
about this. And Greg Duhame has passed away, but he always had a sense of humor about everything. And I think for a degree, he was maybe just teasing me a little bit. Why don't you do it? You know, kind of chuckling to himself. But he was kind of serious too, and it just went. And I did a good job there, and they asked me to do Brussels, the Van Damme meet. Ivo Van Damme was named after him. So, again, I rabbited that one. Again, no world records are set or anything.
You're a part of this opportunity of history.
And then, as Sid found on his phone today, there's another meet in London at Crystal Palace. It's going to be I believe it's called the Gillette Golden Mile. The Golden Mile. So they introduce everybody. And I can remember as they're introducing everybody, and you would just go kind of stand on the little stands and just wave to the crowd. Oh, my gosh. They're introducing everybody and telling a little accolade, what they've done, a little backstory. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, what am I doing here? I've got nothing. I got third at NCAAs.
Oh, my gosh. I can only imagine it's an imposter syndrome almost, I would assume. You're looking around thinking, like, how did I get here? But it's kind of selling yourself short for all these amazing things that you really have done that you haven't really had that step back to look at from that perspective yet.
Not at all.
You're just saying yes to things and living it day at a time.
That's me. And that's how I've always done things.
Okay, so we've got Sid sitting here, and he's saying that we need to go back to Koblenz, Germany in 1984. What does that mean to you?
Well, so I ran in Europe. I did the 80 season, 81, 82. I got hurt in 83 and didn't go. And so in 84, I fall in the trials. So now 84, I'm going to give you the long story. Initially, when I started with Nike, Dick Quacks was the coach. So Dick had won the silver medal in the 76 games in the 5,000. He had set the world record in the 5,000. He's the coach. Well, Dick was a mileage guy.
Okay.
I'm going to grad school at Idaho State. And Dick calls me one day, and we're talking about training, and he wants me to do miles. He wants me to do like a 16-mile run. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh. And he's telling me why. The reason he wants me to do these long runs, they build your capillary beds. I say to Dick, what the heck's a capillary? And he says,
I didn't learn this in zoology.
He says in an American accent, capillaries. He never let me live that one down.
Oh, funny.
So you do these long runs, so you get the blood flows deeper into your muscles and puts those red blood cells into your muscles, and you can be stronger and better runner, on, all that stuff. I don't want to run 16 miles.
Just sounds like a long way.
Right. I don't want to do any long runs, but I'll do any track workout you want. Anyway, so Dick takes me and 5 other guys down to New Zealand and Australia for 2 months in January, February of 1981.
And you're just running full time. That's your focus.
Yes, I'm a grad student, so I take the semester off.
Okay.
And he takes it down there, and I run great, which I don't understand. I just
Not sure
did what
why.
he said. But I'm with all these guys, and we are just having the time of our lives. Just running, training. We're in New Zealand.
Right. Beautiful country.
But then Dick, I can't remember if he left after the 81 or the 82 season, but a guy named Bob Seveny takes over. And Sev moved from Boston. I think he was the coach at Boston University maybe. Comes to Eugene, and he takes over. And I will always remember one of our first conversations. You know, I'm a middle distance runner, and now we're going to train like middle distance runners. And the training completely changed. The mileage dropped. The track workout increased. Weights a couple times a week, serious weights, but it was all about power.
Okay.
I didn't really understand the concept, but Sev would take us to this elementary school that had a big hill next to it, and we would run up the hill, but it's not like you're running up a hill in cross country. We're going to run that hill like you're doing 200s.
Oh, my goodness.
So you are drive, and we did weights that emphasized your butt, your lower back, and power.
It's just a completely different
Totally
approach
different.
to what you've been doing.
Totally different, more track workouts. Sev didn't care about mileage. You show up for practice every day, how are you doing? And then you go and do your races. And as long as you're racing well, I don't care if you're running 40 miles a week or 100.
You're running for the result.
Yeah, and you need to understand yourself. And obviously you're going to have that communication with the coach. It worked really well for me. So, okay, can I digress from Koblenz? Okay, all right.
Sid's giving us gentle prodding.
In 1982, you know who John Walker is?
I'm familiar.
Okay, so because he's from New Zealand, I'm from the U.S., we can't go home after these meets in Europe. So you go from hotel to hotel to hotel. And so I'm spending a lot of time with John Walker. We've become pretty good friends. We go to Carnarvik, Norway.
Oh, my gosh.
It is way the heck out in the fjord country. It's me and John, and his wife was there with their newborn son.
Oh, my gosh.
And Steve Placentia. 3 of us are out there for a week before the meet happens. And there's a couple there. They kind of take us under the wing. They take us on their boat. They take us out to dinner.
Just giving you the whole experience.
Oh, it was great.
Oh, wow.
It was great. And the weather is phenomenal.
Oh, geez.
The weather's just warm and sunny. And I can remember this couple saying, this is so unusual. It should be cold and windy and rainy. Of course, race day comes. It's cold and windy and rainy.
There it came.
Oh, my gosh. So the race comes, and it's a 1,500. I do my usual thing. I go to the front. Again, off the last turn, down the stretch. John goes by me, and Ray Flynn goes by me. Ray's no slouch. He's a 3:49 guy. I get third. We cross the finish line. You know, you're walking around the turn, and John comes up to me, and he puts his arm around me, and he says, you keep running like that, you're going to win some races. It's taken me decades to truly appreciate John Walker said that to me and is complimenting me on how I raced. We start the 84 season. The first race after the Olympics, it's at Crystal Palace. Pretty sure it was a 1,500. And I'm feeling better than I felt. the last lap, I'm so strong I can't even believe it. And I'm cruising.
Everything's just coming in.
I'm
Perfect.
leading, come around the turn, I'm still leading. And for a brief second, I think I'm going to win. I'm coming down the stretch, crowd screaming and yelling. The noise changes. And I understand what's happening. Somebody's coming.
They're making a push.
And I know who it is. Coming down the stretch, I don't know, we're 30 yards from the finish. Walker comes on my shoulder, and he beats me by a couple tenths of a second.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, we cross the line. He's over here. I look at John, and I say, you bastard. And he just has this smile on his face. I'm starting to walk off the track. And he says, no. And he waves me over, and he has me do a victory lap with him.
Oh, wow.
So we get to do, jog a lap around Crystal Palace, 18,000 people, and I am jogging with John Walker.
You're just on clouds.
Oh, my gosh. It's unbelievable.
Holy smokes.
Unbelievable. And I don't know how many times I ran against him, but maybe it's 2 weeks later, we go to Koblenz, West Germany. Backstory, the Go-Go's. Belinda Carlisle is there.
Oh, really?
I see.
Oh, my goodness.
I see Belinda Carlisle because I believe she's dating, I think, Tom Hintonhouse. So Belinda Carlisle's there. I walk in the stadium with the Czech woman, Jarmila Kratovilova. And did she win 2 medals that year? And I'm walking in with her, and there's controversy about her with the doping and all of that.
In the moment, it's just unreal.
It is. It's just, I can't believe I'm walking in next to this person. But I'm having a really good season. I've competed well. I couldn't tell you what was the day like leading up to it. Just another day, another race. Again, Walker's in the field. Steve Cram is in the field. Walker ran the 5,000 in the 84 games, and I don't know where he finished. Cram got the silver in the 1,500, and I'd already run against Steve again in a couple other races. It's another race to me.
Do you have any pre-race rituals or anything like that you do, or specific meals that you like to eat?
No. Nothing.
Really?
Obviously you have your warm up.
Sure.
And that was always the same. But
Wake up,
it's just
put your
another
shoes on,
race.
go to the track.
Yep. Go to the track. And I don't have a really good memory of the race at all, except going down the back stretch and the last lap, I went by Steve Scott. I'd never been close to Steve Scott in my life.
Something happened.
I'm passing Steve Scott. It's like, oh my God. I mean, I'm just running. And Walker and Cram are up ahead and come around the turn and up the home stretch. And I was a much stronger runner. So I'm running much better in the last lap than I ever had.
At this point, you're also doing these different workouts and strength training. Okay.
Yes. I'd done that all the winter
Yeah.
and all of that. And I crossed the finish line, and I don't remember any pace or any split times at all.
Just doing it.
I crossed the finish line. I got third place behind Cram and Walker. Not unusual. Doug Padilla. Doug ran at BYU. We ran against each other in college because I went to Colorado State. We're in the WAC. Doug Padilla comes over to me and he says, "You're a 351 miler."
Insane.
And it's 351.
What do you think?
I mean, he could have said 357 and it would have been, oh, okay. It's 351, and that's like inconceivable. And for me, 351 was Jim Ryan. So as I got into running, Jim Ryan was the world record holder at 351.
Crazy.
And then I believe Filbert Bailly broke his record, but still only ran about 351. So 351 to me is world record.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the record at that time was 348, but
It might as well have been
351
world
is a
record at that
magical
point.
number
Oh,
for
yeah.
me. And now to hear that I've run 351, it's just... It's
Indescribable.
yeah.
How long were you wearing that smile?
Probably a very long time. Well,
Yeah, still brings back a good one.
so after every meet, I would call my parents. And I can't remember the phone call, but I sent them a postcard that said, I'm now a 351. My mom, I have the postcard. My mom saved
wow.
it. And I wrote on the postcard that I got third, ran 351. And I'm trying to be a little bit silly. I've never very serious about things. And I said on the postcard, my brothers and I always had this goofy phrase, chicks dig me. And I said on the postcard, now chicks will dig me.
I love it.
Because I ran 351. And I write that to my parents.
Totally tongue-in-cheek, having a great time.
Exactly.
That is so awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
That same summer, ran in Brussels. I think I got second again behind Steve Cram. And again, I want to call my parents. There's the one payphone. I'm standing in line, standing next to Saeed Ouida. So Ouida, in 1982, we ran a 2,000 in Nice, France. I got fourth. I broke the American record,
Oh, my gosh.
but I was the third American in the race. So all three of us break the record, but I finished ahead of Awida. Wow. He's just coming on. And so that's 82. And then he ends up breaking the world record for the 5. He wins the gold medal. I watch him run in Oslo in the same season. In the same season, probably, within the same 60 days, he runs 1:43 and close to 27 minutes for 10,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Phenomenal range.
Yeah.
I'm standing waiting in line for the payphone with Awida, and he doesn't speak much English. And, we're both obviously runners and trying to have sort of a brief, just kind of a chit-chat, but couldn't really communicate.
How surreal. What does it mean to you looking back that you competed at such a high level with your name right there, equal with these amazing history-making ambassadors of the sport? I mean, you're right there at that level. What does that mean to you to look back on that?
I'm not somebody who's going to overthink things too much. I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I always...
It was a moment in time?
It was a moment in time. I'm proud that I always raced well.
Yeah.
I had some very bad moments in my career. Falling in the trials, totally my own fault. 1979 NCAA cross-country championships. Running right in the front, we hit the mile at 4:19. I step off the course, left the campus of Lehigh University, and I went and sat in somebody's driveway for about an hour till the race was over. And I slowly go back through the woods, back onto campus, and they're announcing, well, Richie Harris, please come to the finish line. That nobody knows where I am.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd been having a lot of personal problems at school, and it just sort of came to a head in the race, and I just couldn't do it.
Couldn't keep your head in that space.
No. And then, so I'm going to give you more backstory here. So that's November of 79. February of 1980, I'm having a good indoor season, college. We go down to have our conference meet down here at Idaho State. On the way, driving in this bus, my coach, Jerry Quiller, comes up to me, sits down next to me, and he says, how are we going to beat Suleiman Nyambui? So Nyambui runs for UTEP. He's from Tanzania. And I don't think he's ever been beaten as a collegian. But Q, how are we going to beat him? And his thought is, Nyambui's very strong. Again, I'm a solid runner, but I'm never going to outkick anybody. Well, Nyambui's going to outkick me, so we need to make it a real race.
Take him out of his race and make him run yours.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I need to get in front, and I need to make it a fast pace. Take the sting out of Nyambui's kick.
No
right.
Small task. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, the gun goes off. I go to the front. I'll say after about 4 laps, sweat starts pouring off of me. I'm not a big sweater at all, but I'm wearing the bandana.
I was going to say, you got the bandana
but
on.
it's just coming down my face, and I can feel my whole body just sweat. And it's just, I have no idea what's going on. I've never had this experience before. I think I run a couple more laps. I just step off the track. I just
hit the wall.
No, I didn't hit the wall. I don't know what's going on. And I step off the track, and if you've seen the track at Idaho State, it's a banked track, and I sat under one of the banks, and I just sobbed. And it was more out of, I'm embarrassed, I'm humiliated, and we want team points. At the worst, I'm going to get 8 points for second. So I've got nothing. And again, I have no idea what happened. But we come to realize when we got to the hotel in Pocatello on Thursday night, this was a Friday night we ran, I sat in the jacuzzi for a long time, thinking, I am so smart. I'm relaxed. My muscles are all relaxed. This is the greatest thing ever. And I think it completely dehydrated me.
Oh.
And, in those days, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me to drink water. I had plenty of beer to drink in college, but not a lot of water.
Not enough of the hydration.
And now I got to call my parents and tell them. And my coach, Jerry Quiller, was so great. He just had an easy personality. We just meshed really well, which in my opinion was my success in college was due to my relationship with him. And he was very much, I get to call the shots. If we're doing a whole bunch of intervals. If I feel like I'm done, he was great with that. It worked out really well for me. But he was just not an issue for him, and we got the mile tomorrow. Now I'm
Pressure's
not very
on.
happy. So now it's Saturday night, line up for the mile again, but I am not going to the front. And the gun goes off. Oh, my gosh, it's so slow. We go through 800 in 2:10.
Oh, wow.
And it is everybody. We're just poking along and everybody's pushing, shoving, stepping on each other.
Elbows.
And at some point, right around the 800 mark, I'm near the front. There's a commotion behind me, and I can't tell you what happened, but my brain just said, you got to go. I kind of hit the gas. I run the next 460. I run the last 455.
Jeez.
I hit the finish line, and there's a great picture that somebody took, and I raised my arms as I hit the tape. Here's Nyambui leaning, and I ran fast enough where he couldn't catch me.
Oh, my goodness.
So I beat Nyambui, and everybody that I ran against was just the nicest, most gracious people. Nobody has an ego. Nyambui thinks it's funny.
Really?
He's just, great, you won. And
It's awesome. He lets you have the moment and doesn't take away from it.
it's like John Walker 4 years later saying, come and do a victory lap with me.
That's awesome.
But everybody was like that at the top level. And I've always remembered that.
I love hearing these.
Gracious.
And I love hearing these stories because that's what comes out with all of these conversations is just how kind and generous everybody is, even in the competitive side of things. And it really is about that community and the sense of team. You're out there pushing each other to do your best, and everybody wants everyone to succeed. I love hearing that.
I did a race down in, it was in Berkeley. It's called the Pepsi Invitational, maybe. And again, John Walker's there, Steve Scott, and it's a pretty good field. And we're all packed up, and I'm on the rail. Walker is next to me, and then Steve Scott's like on the line between lanes 1 and 2. Some point in the race, John Walker says to Steve Scott, Steve, can you move out so I can get out? And it's just like politely asking him, let me out. Yes, that's always stuck with me.
Oh,
and
that's
Steve
awesome.
Scott kind of moves aside so John Walker can get out. It's just so great. And I don't remember who won. I'm sure they went 1-2. But just that's relationship.
That's the stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, I ran this 2000 in Nice, France in 82, and we were there on Bastille Day. And that night, way later on, a whole bunch of us go downtown Nice somewhere, and we get ice cream. And Steve Scott's in the group, and there's a whole bunch of us. And I can remember sitting on this big memorial. If you've been to Nice, they got the whole waterfront there. And we sat on this memorial and ate ice cream. And I'm sitting with Steve Scott.
Surreal.
Everybody's just another person doing the European circuit, going from meet to meet to meet.
That's awesome.
I love that about everybody. Everybody was easy.
And you can tell how much you enjoyed it because throughout this entire conversation, you've been just smiling the entire time. I mean, even talking about might have tripped up a little bit here or there, but like all of this just brings back such fond memories. And I can tell that you truly just enjoyed every moment that you were a part of it.
I've been doing this for 30 years here, and I'm not someone I don't follow track and field. I don't have an interest in reading about it or looking up results on the computer. It's just not my thing. But as I've talked to people, and again, it's mostly high school kids, and occasionally people come in and ask me, is you helping with shoes? So do you run? We all get a laugh out of that. So let
me tell you a story.
Funny.
Oh,
but
awesome.
I've come to, we have decades to reflect. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the travel. That was a big part of it for me. I love going to new places and just meeting people, and it's just having a curiosity about the world.
Yeah, I love that. It's the curiosity.
I never overthought or overanalyzed things.
That's really refreshing to hear that, because one of the things that I'm thinking as you're expressing this is you're allowing yourself to embrace all the opportunities and experiences that you had, and you're not taking anything away from it. Oh, I should have done this, or oh, I missed out on this. You're looking back and really taking it for everything that it was, and you're not diminishing any of the life that you lived, which is so refreshing to hear.
It's just all part of life.
You were living in the moment when you were doing the racing and all that, and now you've transitioned to where running is still obviously a huge integral part of your life, but you've allowed it to shift and change over time based on just what you felt was right day to day, and it still fulfills you even in these different periods that you've gone through.
Yes, no question.
That's awesome.
No question. But I'm very much a day-to-day, in-the-moment person.
I love that.
I never thought too much ahead about anything.
Yeah, because like I said, you've been smiling the entire time and really just enjoying it.
It's it's fun to be asked and talk about this. I feel like nobody's been more fortunate than me to have these experiences. And, and I owe so much to all these people. Obviously, just the base is my parents. But, I meet Ken Caldwell in high school, and I stick with running, have some success. And so much of it is my friendship with him. I go to college, and again, I struggled freshman year. I probably should have quit. I'm getting beat to heck, and I don't know why. But I think some of it was the friendships that you build. I enjoyed the competition. I go out and run this morning. Shannon goes out and does her thing. And
you get out of it what you want on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I feel so good about doing the running, doing the training, obviously doing the racing. And for me, I was always a pretty good racer, and most of them were decent races.
What I would envision in my mind is you getting whatever place you got, but standing there with your arms up and just being so thankful to be where you're at that moment, which it's refreshing to hear because I think there's so much lost on having to go out and always win. And you really seem like you embraced that.
I want to feel good about what I did.
Absolutely.
I always wanted to race well. Extremely
For
rare
you.
that I might win a race, but I felt good about the vast majority of my races. And, the ones where bad things happened, I can look back.
Moment in time.
My own fault. But as my dad said, you're just getting started. But you got to move on.
Yeah.
You can't dwell on the mistakes, the bad races, and just move on.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate to have the people around me that allowed me to do that.
That's awesome.
I will tell you, I did win one race. I won a couple. But I won in 1982. So Steve Ovett and Seb Coe, in 1980, they win these golds in Moscow, and then in 81, 82. In 81, I think they traded off the world record in the mile. They're far and away the dominant guys. So in 82, there's going to be 3 races, and it's going to be the Covet series. Seb Coe, Steve Ovett. And the first race is going to be a 3,000. The second one's going to be an 800, and the last one's going to be a mile. So they haven't run against each other, and now they're going to do this. And again, what I learned over time is that you don't want to lose as those guys because your value goes down. So you're not going to get paid as much. Well, if you win, now your
stock goes up.
Your stock goes up. Anyway, so they're going to have this 3,000. And remember, Andy Norman's been very good to me. And I'd already had Steve Placentia and I ran in, I want to say Hengelo, Holland. I can't quite remember. We ran a 3,000, and Steve and I got 3rd and 4th. And I don't think we had any deal for money. And we're talking to each other. Should we go talk to Andy, see if we can get some money? We go to Andy and we say, can we get some money? And Andy looks at us and he says in his heavy British accent that we should have won. And he says, now I've got 2 assholes for winners. And he gives us a bunch of $100 bills.
You got paid.
We got paid. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was very funny. But I go back to Crystal Palace, and there's going to be the first race of the Covet series. It's going to be a 3,000. I'm not in it. And I go to Andy. I want to be in this. But it's Coe and Ovett, and it's the very, very best milers in the world, and he doesn't want it to be a big field. He won't let me in.
Heartbreak.
Okay, but I win the mile. So I am so psyched. I win the mile. I run 3:55. Again, I think that was a PR.
Oh, my goodness.
At Crystal Palace, I don't know what it's like now, but there's huge grounds around it, and there's kind of like a trail through the woods. And after the meet, I warmed down with some people. My feet never touched the ground.
I can imagine.
I've never felt that way in my life. I was so excited.
Again, in the clouds.
So excited.
That's awesome.
It was great. And I think I got a watch, and when my dad died, I put that watch on his wrist, and we buried him with the watch.
Oh, my gosh.
So, good memory.
Absolutely.
I think I only won 2 races in Europe. A few years later, we were in Aarhus, Denmark. And oh my gosh, I don't remember where I came from to get to Aarhus, but I took a train through Germany up to Aarhus. And the day before the race, I'm walking through downtown Aarhus, and I see this store. In the store window is an axe. And it's a wooden handle with a stone embedded in it for the axe head, but it's like thousands of years old.
Oh, wow.
I am so psyched about that thing. I tell myself, I'm coming back here and buying one of those. I win the race in Aarhus, and that was my prize.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great. I got it sitting on the shelf in the bedroom. And,
How unreal is that?
It comes with a little thing that says how old it is, and it's like a genuine
article.
Stone Age.
And you had no idea.
Oh, no, of course not. No.
That's crazy.
No. So that was really fun.
That's amazing.
I loved that thing. And then it's the prize. And
just ties it all together.
Yeah. Just, again, one of those
unforgettable moments.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me. I would, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you two last questions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask you if you had one specific mentor and the power of mentors in your life, but it sounds like you had so many. So I'm going to twist the question a little bit.
Okay.
And out of all the mentors that you have had, what do you think is the most important lesson that you've learned from any one of them?
Jake, you're asking me a really hard question.
And then the follow-up will be, why was that important?
I think the single biggest thing was believe in yourself and not getting caught up in, I'll say, self-doubt and not overthinking it. And I was never a person to overthink, to overanalyze, but just believing in yourself. But you also have to have people that believe in you. And all of the coaches I had did believe in me.
Apparently so, for good reason.
I had a good relationship with everybody. And I think that's a huge part of your success, that you have to have that relationship, and it has to be fostered on you to believe in yourself, even when things don't go well. Doesn't mean you're a terrible runner.
Yeah.
I made some mistakes.
Had a bad day.
You learn from them, and my dad was very big on keep looking forward, move on.
It sounds like your dad would be the key mentor. Your dad and your mom would be the key mentors in your life.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No question.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to just close on one last question. I like to close all these out on this. It's a tough one, but it was posed to me by a good friend, and it's stuck with me quite a long time now, to where I like to ask others this is, what does legacy mean to you, and what's the legacy that you hope you're remembered for?
Wow. What do I want to be remembered for is, from a racing point of view, I raced well. I'm in the Queen's Hotel, and there's a bunch of us in the lobby. And there's this new guy, an American, that's come over to Europe for the first time. And this is after the race. And again, it was 1,500. Andy Norman's in charge, and it's a big field. And this guy, we're in the lobby of the Queen's Hotel, starts complaining about the field being so big. And he expected to come to Europe and just get towed along. And somehow that got back to Andy. That was the last we ever saw that guy.
Oh, wow.
Because Andy gave him a chance. He was giving you a chance. My legacy, if you put me in the field, I was a good addition to the field. And I helped make the race.
Yeah, you showed up and did
I
it.
didn't get in front all the time, but I was just a solid addition. I never stunk up the field.
Smile on your face and a bandana on your head.
I guess so. Right.
That's awesome.
So what I'd like to leave, I'm in a different world now with this. But the best compliment that we can have is when people leave, that they're glad they came in the door.
Yeah.
And, it's
a relationship.
It's a hassle to come down here and find a parking place, and you're coming from Meridian or something. It's a long drive, and it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
You want to leave here thinking, I'm glad I came down to Bandanna. Yeah. And
I love that.
That's the staff. It's how me and Shannon and I run the place, and people have a good feeling when they come in here. They enjoy it. I guess that's the legacy I would like to leave. That Bandana's a nice place to come down to, and
it is. And like I told you, I've been coming here for years. I've got
you.
many
Appreciate
bandanas
that.
at home because I actually wear them myself. I always have worn them around my neck, and so it has a special meaning to me as well. But Richie, thank you again so much for taking the time to do this.
I sure appreciate the interest.
Absolutely.
Tremendous.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's a wrap. I want to say thank you again to my guest, Richie Harris, for being so gracious with his stories and memories, and for sharing the space inside his store, Bandanna Running and Walking. And thank you, dear listener, for sharing your time and giving this podcast a chance. In the words of Maximus from the movie Gladiator, are you not entertained? I hope so. You can find more episodes of the podcast on your favorite streaming platform or go to runfromthenorm.com and sign up for our newsletter, and we'll notify you when we drop a new podcast episode. As a reminder, the mission behind everything we do here is to motivate with compassion, listen without judgment, inspire with curiosity, one person at a time. I hope we have succeeded. Thanks again for listening, and watch for the next episode coming soon. We've got a ton more great guests and awesome conversations coming your way, and you won't want to miss a single one. In the meantime, stay connected, spend some time outside, and keep moving forward. Most importantly, you gotta run from the norm. Be well.
Check that mic, make sure it sound right, boy.